Well, the equity markets are shrugging off the job numbers, and maybe that's for good reasons. Some things maybe the headlines just aren't telling you. We'll cover that in a minute. Tesla's in the green, at least so far this morning. Headlines today suggest that Elon might step back or leave if there's a no on his compensation package next week. And then this was based on a letter from Tesla shareholder, actually to the Tesla shareholders, penned by Australian board member Mrs. Denholm. She said, Mr. Musk has no shortage of ideas on other places that he can make an incredible difference in the world. And this is absolutely true, which is being interpreted as a thinly veiled warning suggesting that Tesla boss could walk out if his pay package isn't approved. I would say that that was the thinnest veiled warning I've ever seen, but certainly intentional. There's not a chance in the world that Elon Musk is walking away, but you should still vote yes and find your brother and your friends and other people that you've told to invest in Tesla stock or that you know are invested in Tesla stock and give them a call or a note and let them know they should vote as well and help them out with the tricky instructions that they sometimes need. So we have a report that there's an over-the-air update in China taking place that adds improvements to the automated driving system, including better lane, what do they call that? You know, where it keeps the car in the lane. This would suggest that we're getting closer and closer to FSD if Tesla is trusting the maps system and the overall automation in China at this point. Enough to do that, then that's just one step closer to FSD. By the way, Tesla is no longer the most shorted stock. It had that designation for years. I'm not sure how many years it was the most shorted stock, or at least almost always the most shorted stock, but NVIDIA, actually maybe a couple of others, but NVIDIA for sure is now the #1 most shorted stock. You know, a day later, I continued to marvel at the flawless flight of Starship yesterday. There was a few minor issues, and those, according to Elon, are easily corrected. He kind of expected them, and he says no problem. Those are already corrected on the next the next rocket that is planned for going into space, probably within weeks. I don't know about you. I just can't wait to see Megazilla catch that next flight. I hope that's what happens. And that will usher us into a completely new world of space achievement. But while I was not shocked, I still stand amazed that there's nothing, not even a word out of POTUS. The pettiness from Biden on this is really hard to contemplate. Well, in line with my earlier report, I'm happy to add this from Sawyer Merritt today. He says that more money is being poured into solar than all other electricity generation technologies combined, according to a new global report. Power sector investment in photovoltaic technology projected to exceed $500 billion this year. So that's cool. All right, this is Randy Kirk. Hit the like, please hit the subscribe. I need more subscribers right now. That would be very, very helpful. Hit the notify button. Not 100% sure what we're going to do later today, other than, of course, there will be a Good News Friday show, and there'll be something around 11 o'clock. I'm still working on that one. And then tomorrow morning, Larry Goldberg, as he always does on the Friday after the Friday jobs report on Saturday morning, he and I will be looking at Cathie Wood's analysis. So you want to make sure you hit the notify button because you don't want to miss that one. That has slowly but steadily become a huge hit on one Saturday morning per month. Okay, here we go. You could join Patreon. That would be a really big help. From the Bureau of Labor Statistics, both the unemployment rate at 4.0% and the number of unemployed people at 6.6 million changed a little in May. As you read through this, what you're seeing is changed little, changed little, changed little, changed little. Everything they talked about, well, there's little change. That seems like not the way you would characterize things. You would just characterize, give us the numbers, And don't tell us what you think is little or much. This is supposed to be just a report. Anyway, the unemployment rate is now 4%. So that is up from 3.9. Some people, even this week, we've talked to Jeff and Nicholas, and everybody thinks that if we get over 4.1, that is probably going to be a trigger for the Fed. So 4.0 probably not enough, but it is important that we have now gone up to 4.0. And then the number of unemployed people at 6.6 million changed little. They said a year earlier, the jobless rate was 3.7. And so overall, we've gone up 0.3%. Number of unemployed people was at 6.1. So we've gone up 500,000 unemployed people in the course of a year. That's not insignificant. The number of long-term unemployed, those jobless for 27 weeks or more, at 1.4 million changed little. You see what I'm talking about? The long-term unemployed accounted for 20.7% of all people unemployed. So, but again, give me the numbers. Give me the numbers. Don't just say it changed a little. Both the labor force participation rate at 62.5% and the employment population ratio at 60% were little changed. I want the numbers. I don't want little changed. So what they're doing is make you dig in. Total non-farm payroll employed increased by 272,000 in May, higher than the average monthly gain of 232,000 over the prior 12 months. Healthcare added 68,000, government 52,000, leisure and hospitality 42,000. What does that tell you? That is 68 and 52. That's 120. That's 162 out of the 232, almost all of it in old people stuff. Well, okay, government employment, healthcare, and then leisure and hospitality. This is the categories that have been getting the increases. In May, average hourly earnings for all employees on private non-farm payrolls increased by 14 cents or 0.4%, way too high for the Fed, to $34.91 an hour. Over the past 12 months, average hourly earnings have increased by 4.1%. Again, a full percentage point higher than the Fed would like to see it, maybe a little higher than a full percentage point. The average work week for all employees on non-farm payrolls remained the same. So there you go, 34.3 hours. The change in total non-farm payroll employed for March was revised down by 5,000, and the change for April was revised by 10,000. Now, those are smaller revisions than we've seen in prior months, and last month's was revised up. But this, again, is a trend of these revisions. And then what we also need to point out is it is possible to be in a recession or be headed into a recession even when the jobs numbers are still in good shape. This jobs report keeps me at 30% chance of recession in the third quarter. But then we have this from 𝗂𝗵𝗵𝐿, who was digging a little deeper this morning. I sometimes have time. This morning I didn't have time to go really, really deep, but he did, and he says something doesn't add up here. All the headlines say the U.S. economy added 272,000 jobs. However, when you dig deeper into the data, you can see that the full-time employment actually fell by 625,000 people. Meanwhile, part-time employment rose by 286, along with the unemployment ratio to 4.0. This is the biggest drop in full-time employment since December of 2023. It's also the first month with 4.0 unemployment. We know that. So then you go just keep on looking for more and more resources, and the real 𝗍𝗔 Antoni, that's how he goes, that's his handle, says ugly jobs report for May. Headline jobs number up, but employment from household survey plunged 408,000, continuing an unprecedented divergence between these two surveys. The employment level has now fallen 783,000 in 6 months. What is this divergence? There's a number of rumors that there's an overstatement of employment numbers that the Bureau will be fixing later. I tried to dig deeply into that because of those reports. There is something rotten in Denmark. The question is, markets are already headed higher this morning, potentially having looked deeper, but bonds were slaughtered. The rates are up. Last time I checked, almost 14 basis points, Will bonds also decide that this might not be as big a deal as they thought and start having some retreat away from that huge increase? Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look. Let's go ahead and see what is actually happening right now. Well, we have Tesla up 36 cents. We have the Dow Jones now up 165, a strong performance this morning. NASDAQ, which had been in the red, now up 4.65. S&P up 1162. The Magnificent Seven all up except for NVIDIA, which is down 1692. And the Cathie Woods all down because why? Because interest rates way up this morning, as we'll find out in a minute. All right, so percentage-wise, we've got the Dow up 0.43, the NASDAQ up 0.04, S&P up 0.23, and Tesla up 0.13. All of them trending upwards. Everything right now trending upwards. Let's go ahead and take a look at that, the bond situation. Let me see if it resets here just to be sure it's right. Okay, what we're looking at is the 10-year up, give it, say, 14 basis points, 13.9 to be exact, back up to 4.42. We have got the 2-year up just about the same, 13 basis points, and we have got the 2-month up only 0.7 of a basis point. We have got the difference again, 442. Oh, okay. So the difference on the 2-month is now that inversion has shrunk and is back under 100 basis points. And the 2-year has also, well, it's still pretty strong at 43 basis points. So that's still quite a large inversion there on the 2-month, I mean, the 2-year versus the 10-year. Okay, we go on to the oil patch. The oil patch up 50 cents. So this has been inching up day by day, each day inching up. So we're at 76 bucks now. Brent back over 80 at $80.20. We've got natural gas up 2.45% this morning, continuing its surge to 288, almost 289. Gold is down big this morning on the news. Now that is, as we look at the other commodities, this is very likely because the dollar surged on the news, okay? Will all of this reverse later today? We'll see. So gold down 55, silver down $1.61, 5%, copper down 3.46%, down 16 cents to 4.51. So all of that, as the dollar has jumped up, these are all dollar denominated, so they have shrunk down. And so again, the dollar is strongly up this morning on the news because why? Okay, so the bond market's up. That makes the dollar go up, and that makes these commodities in dollar-denominated aspects look like they're actually going down. Well, the gold clearly was down big. In fact, all three are down bigger than the dollar alone would require. We have got the Bitcoin up 678 bucks, 71,374. So very strong there. And then, yeah, that is all we have to report. Let's go back again and just look and see what Tesla is doing. Tesla continuing to show strength this morning. Not a lot. I mean, it's not huge, but up 73. So that's up a little even since we last looked, continuing to go higher. Everything is headed up and to the right this morning. Okay, so if you didn't hit like button yet, remember a little while ago I suggested that, well, hit that like button and subscribe. Please subscribe. We need way more subscriptions, and then hit notify. And Larry Goldberg with me tomorrow. Listen, I did an analysis yesterday. I have to admit, you know, I was following CERN. I was trying to do a CERN-like thing. I think it turned out quite well, thank you. And I also think that the numbers that were on there were valuable and interesting and useful. So I'm going to suggest, I'm going to put the card up right here, that you go back and take a look at that. It wasn't as good as CERN. You're right. It wasn't as funny as CERN. I didn't throw any cartoons or anything, but I still think you would find it valuable. All right. I'm going to see you in a couple of hours. Until then, it's been great talking to you.